Hey everybody, I'm Mike.
I'm Jenny.
And this is And the Nominees Were, a podcast where we watch every movie ever nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
And we finally wrapped one up.
Yeah, we finally did it.
We did it, team.
For all of you out there, it only took 10 weeks. Well, no, actually it took 11 weeks because we took a week off.
True.
But for us, this has been better part of like 8 months or something like that. Boy.
It's been a long-ass time.
Yeah. This is it. This is the end of 2017. We watched 9 movies.
Indeed.
And we talked about them a lot.
Yep.
And now we're going to talk about them all.
Some might say too much.
Yeah, a couple people have said too much. One person has said too much.
Yes.
Well, you know, we've talked about them all individually. Now it's time to talk about them all as a whole.
Right.
As the nominees of the year.
Mm-hmm. The titular nominees.
Yes. Yeah. The movies that we watched are, or were, they were and are, Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri, and your winner, The Shape of Water. So those were the movies, not in the order in which we watched them or released the episodes.
No.
Just reading off Wikipedia.
Yeah, that's just alphabetical.
I couldn't come up with that off the top of my head. I figured we'd rank our favorites.
Yeah, let's go for it.
What we wanted to win.
Mm-hmm. We can go back and forth, I guess, but do you want to start from the top or the bottom?
Oh, the bottom, of course. Gotta work our way up to the top.
True. So you want to go first, or should I go first?
I can go first.
Okay, what's your number 9?
My number 9 is The Post.
Yeah?
Yeah.
My number 9 is Darkest Hour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, The Post is a fine movie. I've said that so many times.
Right.
It's fine.
Yeah.
But like that's it. Like at least Darkest Hour, which that was number 8 for me. Mm-hmm. Darkest Hour had wonderful cinematography. Mm-hmm. Everything was just shafts of light. It was comical at times.
Right.
But it looked very nice. I thought the cinematography in The Post was almost not good.
Right.
At times the directorial choices. I don't know. Whichever. Yeah, I felt like The Post didn't add anything to cinema. At all.
I feel very similarly about Darkest Hour.
Yeah,
I thought that.
Yeah,
The Post is my number 8.
Okay,
actually.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I figured they'd be similar.
But I felt that Darkest Hour, it looks very nice. Mm-hmm. Doesn't have anything to say about Churchill or war, or I guess the idea is supposed to be, keep fighting fascism and stuff, but it doesn't make it clear really that that's the point of the movie. It just seems like it's just telling you about a couple of days in this famous guy's life.
That's true. It's true.
Whereas I know what the point of The Post is. Mm-hmm. I know a little bit about who the characters are, like outside of the story that they're in. I don't think it's a very good looking movie. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's... I think they're both fine. They're movies that, like, if you happen across them and you watch them, you might be like, yeah, this movie's all right.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them is a serious Best Picture contender.
No.
That's my hot take.
They're both they both be perfect Sunday afternoon AMC movies.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, The Post you could even watch on TBS. Mm-hmm. I think it would be a fine TBS movie.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing. AMC has commercials.
I guess you're right. I hadn't thought about it that way. But AMC movie seems like a classier thing.
It's not. It really is not. Okay. It hasn't been for over a decade.
That's a shame. It's like when you put on IFC and they're showing, or is it IFC?
IFC breaks my heart.
Yeah, and they're showing like Armageddon basically. Yeah. I don't know if they've ever done that specifically, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Film Armageddon.
Exactly, but that's what I mean.
I used to watch so many mid-90s like New York shot indie movies that I never would have had never heard of.
Living in Oblivion on IFC. I miss 90s indie actors, you know? Like, I guess some of them are still out there doing their thing, and, like, that's great. But they deserve more respect and more love. I want them to have, you know, their own little sub-community.
Oh, yeah.
Where they're just making movies. And that's great.
They did. It was the mid-90s.
Yeah, no, true. But, like, I also want some of them to be incredibly famous. Like, I want Parker Posey to be a household name.
Right. It's a crime that she isn't.
Exactly. But anyway,
yes.
I guess this is all beside the point.
Yeah.
The point of which is, I don't know that these random indie movies are more interesting than either The Post or Darkest Hour. I don't know what I'm trying to tie it together. It doesn't tie.
I don't know. We'll have to spin this off into another podcast.
Oh, God, no.
Just another girl on the IFC.
Nice.
Okay. We're done now. Back to the list.
So we I guess have nothing to add for number 8 because we just covered.
Yeah.
Unless you had something you wanted to say about.
No, I feel that about sums it up for them. My number 7 is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
Me too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. This movie, it's enjoyable when you watch it.
Right.
Like, I'm pretty sure even if I watched it again, I'd be like, oh yeah, this movie's pretty good. And then in a week, I would either completely forget I had seen it or be like, nah, it's not that great.
Right.
You know, it just, I don't know, something about that movie. It's
occurred to me just now that I thought it was enjoyable enough to watch. But was even more enjoyable was to complain about it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
I didn't really do that, but I get it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any other thoughts about it?
Did I have no, not really.
Okay. It's fine.
Number 6?
Yeah.
Number 6.
Why don't you can go for number 6.
My number 6 is Dunkirk.
Oh.
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay.
I know, which I had originally had when I was making this list. I had it ranked much higher, and then I realized that even though I like Dunkirk a lot and I recommend it to everybody, I was surprised how much I liked it when we saw it in theaters. I ultimately do not like it as much as any of the movies above it.
That's fair.
That's just it. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to be like, hey, you know what I want to watch right now? I want to watch Dunkirk.
Mm-hmm. I can see myself doing that.
Okay.
But yeah, this is a pretty good year for movies.
Right,
I can see myself, strongly recommending any of the top half of this list. You know. Mm-hmm. My number 6 is The Shape of Water.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense to me.
Because, I feel like when we talked about it, or even just like right after I saw it, I kind of feel like I could have ranked this lower, but I think there's so many individual things that I love about this movie that it kind of sets it above these. Like I think I overall enjoyed the experience of watching 3 Billboards more than the experience of watching The Shape of Water, but I think The Shape of Water has a lot more to offer as a movie.
Okay. There's more like artistry to it, I think, yeah. I wanted to mention that even though Dunkirk I have ranked number 6 on my list, I have rated it 4 stars on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
So
this one
I don't mean to slight it.
Yeah.
So yeah, but that was number 6.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5?
Yeah, your number 5.
My number 5 is Phantom Thread.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, no. Your face when I said that. I got really concerned.
No, it's fine. These are your feelings.
Okay. And as you could tell from when we talked about these movies together, I really enjoyed Phantom Thread. I had a lot to say about it. I think it's a great movie, and people should watch it. Mm-hmm.
But it's just that there are so many other great.
Yeah,
there are other great movies.
This is a good year.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2017, I should say.
Yeah.
2018 doesn't seem like
I don't know.
as good of a year.
Yeah. My number 5 is Get Out. Similarly,
I think I made almost the same face. You made like a closed lip face. I made like a big eyes face.
Yeah, this is a good, fun, solid movie that I could watch, over and over, but it's not, I don't enjoy it as much as these other movies that are coming up.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
I wish I had more to elaborate on.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with it. And I guess we can compare things to, well, that's the thing. It's very, apples and oranges to compare these movies to each other.
Yeah.
A lot of the way.
Mm-hmm.
But number 4?
Yeah.
My number 4, I put The Shape of Water.
Okay.
I had that in particular much lower until we watched it again, and I was like, nah, this is my garbage. And so it's just, I really think that you can't think about it too hard and still enjoy it, so I don't blame you for not being into it, but I find, I like the idea of just being swept along in this nonsense fable,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's actually, I think, even more than a fairy tale. I think a fable is a good way to look at it. Yeah, I think that it's a good way to look at it because fables are blunt. Fables have a point they're trying to get across, and people do good things or bad things. Mm-hmm. And the moral of the story, is, like, in this case, is, like, I don't know, outcasts are people, too.
I don't know.
I think I've made up a different moral every time I've tried to come up with the moral of The Shape of Water. But yeah.
My number 4, speaking of your garbage, Lady Bird.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. This movie rules. It's number 4. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Let's see. My number 3.
Mm-hmm.
I actually am sad about this even as I look at the fact that it's number 3, but my number 3 is Call Me By Your Name.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just so good, but they're all so good. All of these top 3 movies, I love them all.
Yeah.
They're all my children.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it's just, it speaks to me less specifically, I would say, I guess. I think, and we talked about this a little bit when we talked about the 2018 Oscars.
Uh-huh.
Where even though we'd only seen half the movies, and it was like, well, I have my movie that's my favorite of the nominees, but then the one that I think I might vote for Best Picture, which is insane. And you were like, why not vote for your favorite movie? And I'm like, but what if it's not the Best Picture? And I think I probably would have voted for Call Me By Your Name.
Okay.
But it is my number 3.
Mm-hmm. My number 3 is Phantom Thread.
Okay.
Yeah, the top 3 was all kind of tough because, like in any year, these top 3 could each be my number 1 of that year.
Yeah, I feel this way too.
Yeah, Phantom Thread. It's a wonderful, it's fantastic movie, but it's also like it's a 4.5 star movie that is somehow the like 3rd best P.T. Anderson movie,
right.
Or even like 4th or 5th best. I don't know. So yeah, number 2.
My number 2 is Get Out.
Okay.
I really like it, and I, as we mentioned in the episode, even when I rewatched it, I was afraid, did I overhype this to myself? Will I not like it as much the second? Like, no, idiot, you like this movie. Like,
yeah. And
I do. I like it a lot. And it's, I think it's very powerful and interesting and also funny. Yeah. So, yep.
Mm-hmm. My number 2, Dunkirk.
Okay.
Yeah. I think this is, it's such a powerful cinematic experience.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And it's such a new, it feels like something really new in this sort of blockbuster epic filmmaking mode. And yeah, it's amazing, but it doesn't have the emotional power of my number 1, which is Call Me By Your Name.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel. My number 1 is Lady Bird. Yeah, because of course it is. Mm-hmm. Because it is my whole, and it was made for me.
Yeah. Like, I can't remember the last time I have cried as much. It just, it like wept tears of joy while watching Call Me By Your Name, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, it's so nice. It's a nice movie.
It is a nice movie. It's a nice movie. It's moving.
Yeah.
Yep. I love Lady Bird. I feel the same way about it. I not only it speaks to my individual experience, but also, it's like, it's cathartic and I cry and I just love it. It's so much. And it's funny and it's sweet and it's like that feeling of nostalgia for a place that I've never been and I have no connection to, you know, but it makes me love Sacramento. I don't know anything about Sacramento, but you know, and it's great. I love Lady Bird.
Yeah, all those things you said, but with Northern Italy.
Right, yeah.
Those movies, they're both so much, they so embody their locations.
That's true. Yeah.
They make those places feel familiar when we haven't been to either of those places.
Right.
And never will, probably.
But, and even there's, you know, in the last 10 minutes of Lady Bird, when maybe even less than that, when she goes to NYU and stuff, and they never say it's NYU, but well, that's what I mean. That's what I'm getting at, is like, it, you know, it's NYU, you know, it feels like New York in the early 2000s. It's just, I can't explain it. It's just something about her walking along in her orange coat, to going into the church and stuff, and I was just like, God, I remember when I was 21, like, you know, which, you know, like, she's younger than that, obviously, but that's how old I would have been at this time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I felt it deeply.
And I love that there's just that one shot, really the only establishing shot of New York you get is, like, her getting out of the subway at the West 4th Street station, and it's just her. I could tell it was the West 4th Street station just because she's standing in front of those, like, those basketball courts. Yeah. And, there's something about that stop, that, like, little nexus area of the village.
Yeah. It reminds me of being young, trying to be older, trying to be cool.
Oh, yeah.
That's my strong association with that part of the village specifically.
Yeah.
And so it was
just a couple
perfect.
blocks from Film Forum, where I spent most of my early 20s.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, so
yeah,
these are good movies.
Yeah. I didn't expect to get more Lady Bird content.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. No, I was enjoying talking about this stuff. I just, we spent over 2 hours talking about every single one of these movies. I didn't think we'd have new things to say about any of them. But that's how good these movies are.
Yeah, they're good movies. So what I was thinking was, because I had been looking at my Letterboxd list of all the movies that I had seen from 2017 and what I had rated them. And several of these movies are up in the top.
Yeah.
But not all of them. Certainly not all 9 of them. And so I thought, what are movies that I have rated higher from 2017 than these Oscar movies? So.
This podcast, we're trying to watch all these Oscar movies, but, one of the big things you hear every year is, the Oscars got it wrong again.
Right. Yep.
There's so many good movies. You can't pick all good movies, is what I was going to say. And you know what? It's unfortunately
all
true.
All the good movies.
Yeah. There are quite a few movies that I loved in 2017 that were not nominated.
So the first one that comes up is Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
This is a pro Last Jedi podcast.
Oh, yeah.
For anybody that thought it might not be, I'm very sorry, but you have clearly misunderstood who we are as people.
Yeah, like I remember back before we thought of doing this podcast, like when the nominations came out, before this we didn't really, we didn't do like lists for fun or anything, but I feel like we were talking about, things we love to not get nominated. And my first thought was like Last Jedi for Best Picture, and like it sounds ridiculous. It sounds
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Yeah.
And I really think it is it's the first Star Wars movie for me since the original trilogy, really since The Empire Strikes Back to reach that level of like storytelling excellence. It's a thematically resonant movie. It's a beautifully shot. The composition of that movie is just as thematically relevant. It's maybe the only Star Wars movie in which that's the case, where like the way it's shot has like something to do with like the themes and the emotions that are being presented in the film.
Yeah, that the actual visual storytelling itself is important.
Yeah. Empire Strikes Back, it was leaps and bounds forward in terms of like acting and character development and stuff, but the movie just looked like Star Wars movie. It looked fine for the most part, as far as I can remember. I don't know. It's been a while.
It's been. And I do feel like there's a tendency to undervalue New Hope in that sense.
Yeah, but I love it. I'm more of a fan of A New Hope than Empire Strikes Back, honestly.
I am too.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Oh no. We're that podcast.
I don't know.
Although, to be fair, I think I've only ever seen Empire like 1.5 times.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I've seen it more than that, but I didn't watch it as much. Like, I would just...
maybe 2.5 times.
I would watch it. I would watch A New Hope just over and over, because it's a wonderful self-contained story.
Exactly. It's very rewatchable.
Yeah. The hero's journey has been done to death at this point, whereas we're at the point where every movie over $150 million is the exact same story, basically, as Star Wars. Bit. But that was the first movie to really do it to that degree, and it's a wonderfully powerful story. And The Last Jedi, I don't know if it really works if you're not familiar with all the Star Wars movies. Not all of them.
I guess it probably... I do think, because what I think is the most, what I think is the most powerful and interesting part of The Last Jedi is when Rey goes into the cave and is surrounded by the mirror images of herself.
So beautiful.
And it,
it
signifies how, there's a whole mystery about, who's Rey, where'd she come from? And she comes from herself. She is herself. She will be herself.
Yeah.
Her lineage is not important. What's important is who she is and what she will do. Yeah,
it's a wonderfully meaningful moment, and it's also the first, I think, visually daring thing that Star Wars has ever done in any Star Wars movie. It's the most visually daring thing that any Star Wars
I would say it's the most. I agree with that.
One.
Yeah, right. I would agree with that.
Yeah. So I feel like the only argument that I would have against The Last Jedi being nominated is it is a sequel, and it's not... I can understand it not being compelling to someone who isn't a Star Wars...
I guess that might be true.
...fan.
That's a good point.
Where, just a couple of years ago, they nominated Mad Max Fury Road, which is a sequel. Which is the fourth movie in a series.
But I had never seen a Mad Max movie before then. You do not need
to see any other Mad Max movie to enjoy that movie.
I did wonder the whole time whether it was part of a continuing story.
Like, I don't think so at all. It was supposed to
literally be the same character from the Mel Gibson movies, and I know it was, but I literally couldn't tell if it was like a continuing timeline. I had no idea, but and I did wonder about that a little bit, but it didn't.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It didn't. Right. It didn't. It didn't affect how I felt about what was happening in the movie. Mm-hmm. The movie's own story and own themes were perfectly clear. Yeah. Yeah. All I needed to know was, you know what? The world dried out. There's no gas. There's no water.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep.
We should move on, though.
Okay.
But yeah, The Last Jedi, that is my second highest rated film of 2017.
I believe it.
Yeah. It's Call Me By Your Name at 5 stars and Last Jedi at 4.5.
Yeah. Another one that I have at 4 stars, which we just recently watched for context for this podcast, was Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah. I actually just recently downgraded that one half a star. It's very good. It's very good. Yeah, that that is, you know, even with me downgrading it a little bit, I would still happily nominate that above Darkest Hour or The Post.
Yes, that's 100% how I feel. Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, so, well, I've been playing around with this idea in my head as of the Oscar nominees every year as being almost like a movie time capsule almost. Like very often they're not the 5 or 10 best movies of the year, even though that's what they're supposed to be. But I think they function very well as a glimpse into that year.
Okay.
Like obviously it's not the same as I
think that's the best way to explain The Post and Darkest Hour being nominated for Best Picture, actually.
Like it's not exactly a good time capsule if you're thinking of like what were the most popular movies that year, because they're all going to be Disney movies really now.
That's true.
But I think that I think the Oscar nominees every year do very well to represent the times that they are in, and I think these 9 movies, for the most part, are very representative of the world that we're living in right now. Mm-hmm. This was a very political year.
Yeah, it was.
You know, you had ones dealing directly with, you know, leadership, like Darkest Hour, and The Post dealing with the, you know, the presidency.
Freedom of the press.
Yeah, and then you had you know, movies about like contemporary issues of you know, race and prejudice, like 3 Billboards and even The Shape of Water.
Yeah,
in a way. Mm-hmm. And you know, I think even just the fact that Call Me by Your Name, a movie about a homosexual romance.
Right.
I mean, it's been 10 years since Brokeback Mountain, but it's still how many movies of that kind get, you know, nominated for
it's true.
this type of award. And I think even something like Dunkirk, while not explicitly being you know, about now, you know, it's a period piece, you know, I think it presents an image of world leadership that maybe we feel like we're missing right now, you know?
Okay.
I mean, I think that's much more explicit in like Darkest Hour.
Right.
Where, you know, this person's leading a nation in a time of trouble, and he's actually able to do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah.
But Dunkirk, it's a traditional image of, I mean, it's that specific British image of, you know, we're going to get through this. We can do anything.
Right.
You know,
keep calm and carry on.
Yeah, exactly. But I feel like that is something that people want right now as well, even though we're not in a time of war.
Right.
You know?
I have nothing to add to that isn't just garbage. I agree with your point.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I feel like that's going to be the big handicap when we're doing these other years. Mm-hmm. Is I agree with your thesis that the Oscar nominees speak to the times, and I don't know anything about the times. I wasn't alive during the times.
I think the question going forward would be, what can we say about the times, having not lived through we're living through 2017
what can we
right
infer?
Now. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I think even 30 years from now, you could look at this set of 9 nominees and go, oh, they might have been going through something. It's
looks like America was going through some shit.
Yeah, this is like this is like Dad just bought a Ferrari. You know exactly what's going on right now.
We're done with 2017.
Yeah, that's it. 2017 officially over. Now 2 years later, 2017 is finally over.
Finally, our long national nightmare is over.
It's only just begun.
Damn it.
So that's it. 2017, very good year. But how do you think this feels as an Oscar year? Just to go in your own personal experience watching the Oscars every year,
Right. I often have not seen all of the movies.
It's true.
Or even the majority of them, except for, like a year or two that we will get to eventually. But I think they're good movies. So
yeah, I think this was a pretty solid year. The fact that I really liked to loved like 6 or 7 of the nominees. That's pretty.
Yeah.
That's a good amount.
Right.
Good percentage.
I agree.
And so I feel like even though it was just pure accident fate that we started with 2017, I feel like it was a good year to start things off with.
Yeah, I agree. We remained engaged and didn't quit the podcast immediately.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I think we're done. I think this is it. So we did 2017. We did the most recent Oscars at time of recording. It's now the second most recent Oscars. But what do we do to follow that up? We could have gone, just 1 year back. We could just keep going backwards chronologically. But I don't think that it would be fun for anybody. I don't think anybody would be sticking around in 10 years till we finally get to the beginning. So we're skipping ahead. We're skipping ahead all the way to the beginning.
Right.
We thought, we did 2017, the 90th Academy Awards. I figured, why not do the first Academy Awards, 1927?
Yep.
So that is, our next miniseries is the very first Academy Awards, 1927 to 1928.
And please explain why it is 2 years.
Well, okay, well, I mean, the simple answer is that when they decided to have an award ceremony, I think it was partway through the year, so they said, okay, so it's all the films that are eligible, anything between August 1927 and August 1928, because they didn't think of this in January, basically.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. That makes sense.
So that, yeah, and actually it continued like that for the next couple of years until they were like, all right, no, this is ridiculous. January to December, that's it. But I guess I wanted to give a little bit of background. I'm not a historian, but I wanted to give a little bit of background on the Academy Awards since we're doing the first one. I think it's easy at this point in time to just think, if you know a little bit about movie history, the Jazz Singer came out in 1827. That's when sound film started at like the beginning of the 30s, mm-hmm. and the Academy Awards started at the beginning of the 30s. That's probably just the beginning of movies, basically. But, the Academy Awards starting, it was kind of the culmination of like the first decade of Hollywood existing as a thing. I think the first Hollywood studio, the first big lot that's like still in existence today that was built was Universal Studios, which was built in like 1917 or something like that. And so by the time of the 1927 ones, Hollywood had been going for a full decade at this point, making silent films, and actually one of the things that spurred on the creation of the Academy Awards was Louis B. Mayer, who was then head of the Mayer Studios, which became
MGM,
Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. He was afraid of unions starting up, and he thought, well, if we get all the different categories organized under one umbrella, it might be harder for them to unionize. And also, my stars complain about not being paid enough. Maybe if they get an award, they'll shut up. This is literally the thinking.
Great.
So
we'll give you a trophy. It'll be fine. They didn't even have trophies at the beginning, right?
They certainly. I think the Oscar design came a little bit later. Maybe they got like a plaque or something.
Okay.
But yeah, so the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, which was at that time was, I think, the International Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, even though it was all Hollywood studios. They just wanted to sound fancy.
Right.
Yeah. But
like American International Pictures.
Yes. But, EAMPAS doesn't really have the same ring as AMPAS, which doesn't have the same ring as the Academy. Okay, they keep shortening it. But yeah, it really started as, a trade organization to like negotiate things, and then they were like, well, what if we, give out some awards? I don't know. I don't remember. Then they formed the Academy Awards. I don't know what. This podcast is not a history lesson,
right.
But I felt like, it's nice to know going into the first Academy Awards what we're like, because we know what the Oscars are now. It's this big glitzy show on television, but the first Academy Awards, it was basically a banquet, and then they announced the winners like real quick. Nobody gave speeches or anything, and in fact, they had leaked the winners to the press 2 months before, so they could be written in time for the award, so everybody knew who won.
Right.
So and also I'm pretty sure everyone who was invited had to pay $50 for the dinner as well.
This is a terrible party.
Yeah.
My parents just had to go to an awards ceremony over the weekend because their friend got an award. She was getting, acknowledged for service or something like that. And they had to pay to go to this dinner. And I'm like, what's the point?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I think the award is just a lure to get you to buy tickets to the dinner.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what this was too.
But then they won some prizes, so that was nice. I think they should have given out raffle tickets at the first Academy Awards.
Yeah, I think they should have had gift baskets,
Uh-huh.
They do have gift baskets now. Isn't it true like everybody... I don't know if it's everybody who gets to go to the Oscars, because I can't imagine they'll give the same amount of gifts to Charlize Theron as they will to like one of the schmoes nominated for best live-action short, I'm sure they'll find some way to not give them and 2 iPads for some reason.
It seems like a shame. I think that, I think that the best live-action short people will have more of a use for 2 iPads.
Yeah.
Honestly, they'll be able to shoot some movies on it.
You can't shoot movies on an iPad.
Why can you shoot movies on an iPhone but not on an iPad?
Because they don't care about the iPads. They don't put good cameras in them.
Oh, that's rude.
Maybe
Seems
they do
like it would be a lot
now.
easier to do it.
My iPad at this point is like 8 years old.
Yeah, that's fair.
But anyway, where were we? So yeah, the first Oscars, they were a little different. It was a little bit more informal. I think there were only 8 categories, most of which are the same ones that we would recognize today.
Okay.
Except, notably, there were 2 Best Picture categories. Now, officially, I think, according to the Academy, they've sort of retconned it so that only one of those counts as Best Picture. So
That's
officially,
ridiculous.
Wings is the first and only first Best Picture winner. But there were 2 awards given out that year. There was Unique and Artistic Production and Outstanding Picture. And the distinction,
I was gonna say, just by title, those sound like some bullshit categories. Let me tell you.
sounds an awful lot like Best Picture and Popular Picture. Yeah.
Now that you, now that you
this is
mention
not
it,
this is not the first time the Academy has tried to pull this bullshit. And well, the nominees and the nominees were that year for Unique and Artistic Production. Chang, A Drama of the Wilderness, The Crowd, and Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans, which won. And the nominees were for Outstanding Picture, The Racket, Seventh Heaven, and Wings, which won. And
so, can I interject real quick?
Sure, absolutely.
So if the
Please.
Academy considers Wings the Best Picture winner of the year,
Yeah.
Outstanding Picture sounds like more bullshit to me than Unique Artistic Achievement.
Yeah, it's interesting. Having not seen all of the nominees, which, we're going to do that now.
Right.
It seems like there is a sort of divide. Like, Unique and Artistic production, it seemed like they were seeking out, movies that were outside the norm of a standard Hollywood production. Something
Okay.
about them seemed unique and artistic. And the outstanding production, it's really like, this is classical Hollywood filmmaking, just the best version of it, you know?
So that makes sense. That's more what they are talking about when they say best picture.
Yeah, and I think, you know, at least in the first few decades, that is really what they were looking for. I feel like as much good and great stuff came out of the first few decades of Hollywood filmmaking, the studio heads were really looking for a sort of homogeneity. Is that a word? Yeah, they were looking for a sort of homogeneous product. They wanted it to be great within the confines that they set that would make them the most money. And, the first Academy Awards came at sort of the end of a decade of wild experimentation. You know, the form was just starting. No one knew exactly how to make a picture exactly. And so you would get weird things like, hey, what if we just pay two people to go off into a jungle and hope they come back with a movie, like Chang. And then they're like, hey, what if we ask the most respected European director to come over to America and make a movie, like Sunrise? They were trying all this stuff. But really, going forward as an organization, they were like, but what's your best Spencer Tracy picture? You know, they weren't really looking to experiment too much, I think, in those first few decades. Okay. At least as far as I know. I don't know. We're gonna find out.
That's true. It'll be an adventure.
Yeah, it's gonna be an adventure. It's gonna be good. Is there anything else to say about the first Academy Award? Oh well, I did want to say a little note on how to watch these movies, because I didn't mention it at all because I assume if you were listening to the 2017 movies, either you've seen them, you saw them in the theater, or you can rent them you can get them anyhow you want. But these earlier movies, it's a little bit tougher. Sunrise and Wings and Seventh Heaven are all released on Blu-ray somewhere in the world. I think Sunrise and Wings are both available in America. I'm not sure about Seventh Heaven. I know that Sunrise and Wings are available to rent on Amazon Prime and presumably most other places you can rent things. I don't know exactly how that works. Seventh Heaven, not so much. I did check, and it is available on YouTube in its entirety. Now, the other three films, a little bit tougher to get your hands on. Chang was released on DVD by Milestone Films a number of years ago, and it's still available. I think they just print like CDRs of the movie. It's a tiny little company, but you can order those. And the other movies, The Racket has never been available on home video at all in any format.
Cool.
Yeah, right? I think it's some sort of weird rights thing. I think this movie was produced by Howard Hughes, and then got bought up by his company, which got bought up by a bunch of other things. I don't know. There's some things in limbo. It did show on TCM a number of years ago, and there is a bootleg of this TCM airing that's floating around the internet, and if you know where to look, you can find that. And The Crowd has been released on like VHS, and I don't think it's on DVD right now, but that is also available in your your local dark web or something. I don't know. You can find it, but these movies are harder to find. But that's why we're here.
I feel like, you know, that is also the time to mention, I don't know about these movies specifically, and of course this is also it varies by where you're from, your resources, but
that's true.
You know, please check your local library.
Oh yes, absolutely. I'm ashamed that I didn't even think of it. Hopefully, some library somewhere has Chang that you can take out, because it is a DVD. If they don't have it, you could possibly ask your library to buy it for you. You know, some places do that. Some places they'll just tell you to fuck off or something.
Right. And then they'll throw a book at you.
Yes. It's the only place where they can still do that.
Yep.
The Racket, that's going to be a little tougher. The Racket, you really gotta to find that online somewhere. But it's not on YouTube, but it is out there for you to find.
Okay.
Somewhere. And that's it. And if you can't watch these movies, or you don't want to, it's
we're going to try to be interesting regardless.
I will say, right now, the only one of these movies that I have seen is Sunrise, and that movie is fantastic. And if you can find that movie before we talk about it, by all means, please try to seek these movies out in general. I think we're going to be talking about these movies. And maybe they won't be so good, but you know what? See for yourself. I don't want this podcast to. This podcast.
You don't have to take our word for it.
This podcast is meant to promote the watching of movies and not to supplant them.
Right.
Go watch these movies if you can. All right. Anything else to say about 2017 or 1927 or me? I don't know.
Well, I like you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. As for 2017, see ya.
Yeah, get out of here. Rear view mirror.
Out.
Ugh. Catch on the flip side.
But we are 2 years late in wishing 2017 goodbye.
Yeah. Yeah.
But not a moment too soon, honestly. And yeah, I am very interested to explore these 1927 movies because I do not watch old movies.
Yeah, I do.
That sounded bad. No. I don't watch a lot of movies from the 20s, I should say.
I've seen my fair share of silent movies, mostly comedies. I'm definitely not an expert by any means, but I enjoy exploring. I look forward to watching these movies. I do think these episodes that we record, they might be a little bit different than 2017, just because these movies are a lot different.
Right.
The way we talk about them might be different. But I hope they'll be interesting, and I hope you all out there stick around. And from all of us here at the Nominees, we're HQ. I don't know. I got nothing.
Nope, now I just have the Reading Rainbow theme in my head. Yeah. It's all over.
Take a look. It's in a movie. Watching Rainbow. I don't know. Is that good?
Yeah.
Is this podcast over? Yeah, okay.
Do we have to say bye at the end?
No,
I don't feel like
I don't know. Bye. Whatever. Go away.